Chinese New Year, or a variation of it. This is that time of year, and as I have for many years, I've had my dear friend Julie Ma in here. Julie is one of the smartest people I know, one of the nicest people I know. She is the head of the Chinese Fine Arts Society of Chicago, has been ever since her mother started that. Your mother was a piano teacher. Julie and I are just going to talk for a while to make sure we're getting all of, you're going to hear some amazing musical instruments today. But your mom started that. She was a piano teacher, and she was sort of imbued with the notion that of spreading real Chinese culture to the Chicago that she absolutely loved, right?
Yes, you have a remarkable memory since it's been a year since we talked about my late mom.
Yeah.
She came to Chicago 35 years ago, and she realized that she could continue something that she had done ever since she came to the States 15 years before that, which was to promote awareness and appreciation of Chinese culture. She came over to America on a scholarship from Skidmore College in upstate New York to basically be a cultural ambassador to all the other young ladies going to that college to teach them about Chinese culture. And when she came here, she realized there was an opportunity to do that here as well.
See, and in many ways, and this has been one of my main gripes on the show, is most people taste of Chinese culture when they go to Chinatown and go to a restaurant, or they go to a Chinese and New Year celebration and see a dragon, and then they forget about it. But it is here, and that's why I always recommend that people go to ChineseFineArts.org to see that this is a good way to experience it at this big time, the New Year time of year, when there are a number of events, and you have a number of events. You just did one Saturday at Navy Pier. What was that?
So that was our part of Global Connections, which is a series that Navy Pier has to put a spotlight on certain cultures,
Sure.
Including Chinese. And so for the last 3 years, we've been just converting the grand ballroom all the way at the end of the pier.
Which is a great space.
It's a beautiful space, and we convert it into a Chinese night market. And we have 2 stages of performances. We have this incredible drum team on one of the stages, and then we have some of the most lovely performers in Chicago. We look for them all year, and we showcase them on the main stage there. And then we set up the entire circumference, the perimeter of the ballroom as a night market. So there are little stalls with calligraphers and artists and people selling all kinds of Chinese tchotchkes, and there's this wonderful vendor that brings Chinese soaps that are shaped in Chinese zodiac signs every year, and glitter tattoos, and so you can walk around, and then we bring in food from Furama Restaurant, and so it's just this wonderful free event. And it was yesterday.
Yes, I'm sorry you missed it.
Yeah, I'm sorry you missed it, but it's
I'm sorry I missed it.
But look for it for next year, because we've been doing it every year, and we've had this wonderful partnership with Navy Pier, and it is one of the highlights of the season.
Now, how is one of you brought 3 musicians in with you?
I did.
And one of them is Brent Roman, who is not obviously of Asian descent. Maybe you are. Maybe you are, Brent, and I just don't recognize it.
No, we call him honorary Chinese.
He's an honorary Chinese.
I have my card.
And also Tamira Nazel, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Nazel Haryana.
Yep.
And they're going to play and do all sorts of things during the 45 minutes we get to talk about the Year of the Rat. There's an event, before I let you guys play, you honorary Chinese man, and the rest of you, you're doing something at the Apple store right across the river from this joint.
And this is actually something, this is our 2nd year. Last year was kind of an experiment,
Yeah.
and it's part of the Today at Apple series, where they highlight all kinds of things, artists, musicians, and part of it is to give them a showcase, and of course there's always a tie-in to Apple products.
Yes, of
and
course, because the whole world, it's either Apple or Amazon, everything is tied in.
So
Yeah.
we will have, actually, Tamira and Nazel will both be there performing live music. We'll also have a calligrapher there, as well as some Chinese dance. And then people will have an opportunity to interact with some of the most recent Apple products, and be able to do some just capturing what they see and doing something with it on
That's
iPads
great.
and
Now,
phones, and it will be really
what
fun.
would you like? What can these? You should see the instruments, Dan. Aren't that Dan, who's helped put
So-
all this together? I mean, these are unbelievably cool instruments you have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a sort of set of drums, unlike I've ever drums and cymbals and things, and a kind of stringed instrument. Tell me what they're going to do. Well, let's wait 1 minute. You guys can have and play after. When we get to 15 after, then we get a little commercial, and then it's all yours.
So in
Brent,
the meantime,
yes.
they're called the Tuvergen band, and Tuvergen means galloping in Mongolian. They're from Mongolia. It's a Mongolian band, except for Brent. Brent is not Mongolian.
Brent's an honorary. Wait, Brent is an honorary Mongolian.
And they are going to be playing some very characteristic Mongolian music on Mongolian instruments. And Brent has adapted his drum set to basically approximate the Mongolian percussion set, because you can't purchase it here, but he's done a really great job of adapting what he has to match with the instruments that Tamir and Nizal will be playing.
Well, after you play it, I'd love all three of you to come on and talk for a while about how you. Well, obviously, you guys were born to it, but Brent, how did Brent come to this? Do you know, Julie?
I do know, but I'll let him tell us.
Okay, we got to take a little break, and then you will hear from these three musical performers after a couple minutes.
Car is worth money.
Thank you.
Visit VictoryAutoWreckers.com for an instant quote. Victory will tell you what condition your car's in. Victory
By
buys
the way, I'm
vehicles
also
every
gonna
day,
be-
including nights and weekends, and you'll get cash on the spot. Go to VictoryAutoWreckers.com for more information, or save money by fixing up your car with used parts. Go to VictoryAutoWreckers.com to search their inventory. VictoryAutoWreckers.com.
And they have the same last name, and only 5,000 people have it, and they're not related.
Get out of here.
Silver Village.
Change your
They
life.
met each other for the first
Now
time in
is the
Kentucky.
best time.
Brent
Call
Hargana.
in
Brent Hargana. That'd be great. The Hargana boys.
Brent Hargana.
WGN listeners have been calling
They
the
say I should
antique
change my last name.
to sell their antiques.
Yeah.
Why go to the mall or send a
Hargana Brothers.
pictures
Hargana
in the
Brothers.
mail? Call 773-262-1000 for a buyer you know and trust. Bring your sterling silver flatware, trays, teapots, and candlesticks to the antique lane. Old, broken, and unworn gold pieces sitting in the drawer
It's
can
all in
be
the
turned
clothing,
into
man.
cash. Deal with a family-owned business that's been in the same location for over 30 years. At 6901 Northwestern Avenue in Chicago, you'll receive a fair price with no pressure to sell. Call 773-262-1000 today.
Do you want us to make things
It's scary.
sound
It's
while we're on
I mean,
commercial?
worst that can happen. You
But
end
it's
up
also
driving below
mysterious.
the speed limit. It's no big deal, right?
This
We're
one
all.
woman.
Do you want
The
us to
truth
make any
is, your
sounds
reaction
during
times slow
commercials?
way down.
Dial us in.
You not only put yourself
It's
in danger,
tough
but
with the
everyone
way
around
this
you.
is set up because I
Talk
can't
about
really
it.
dial anything
Stop getting
while the
yourself. It's not okay
studio's
to
on the
drive
air
home.
anyway, so
If you've been using
I'll do it
marijuana
kind of as we
and
go.
do not
We'll
do
wing
it.
it. Come on.
If you feel different,
They
you
make
drive
a pretty good sound.
drive
We go
by
pause.
DUI.
Brought to you by the DuPage County Prevention Leadership Team. Early
Alright, stand by.
mornings, stay safe and
So
stay
we're gonna have them
connected
wait in.
with Morgan
No, no, I'm
Brookmeyer's
just
weather
saying,
forecasts and Sarah
hi,
Ginger's
this
traffic
is
reports.
Julie
Weekdays
Martin
4 to 6 on
over
WGN TV Morning
I just
News.
introduced whatever.
Okay,
Ready?
and it's Dingle Day is what you're
Yeah,
playing.
Dingle Day, yeah.
All yours, Shirley.
Yep.
All right. So
This is Julie Ma taking over Rick Kogan show. Go ahead.
I'd like to introduce again the amazing Tuvergen band, and they're a Mongolian band, and they are going to be playing a piece called Dingle Day.
Wow. That was. It's so hard to explain the singing that goes on. Julie, could you give that singing, it sounds like an instrument. I mean, a voice is an instrument, I know that. But it sounds...
It's called Mongolian throat singing, and it's something that I heard for the first time about 6 or 7 years ago, and I just was enchanted by it because it's just, Tamira was explaining it to me earlier today, that it's entirely just controlling the air coming from your diaphragm through your throat and then using your tongue to redirect the air. And so it's entirely, and he said that it's something that you can just learn in a few weeks, but I think that that is an exaggeration.
You might be able to learn it if you wouldn't be any good at it. Yes, of course you can learn it in a few weeks, but you wouldn't be any good on it. Brent, in playing with these individuals, how long have you, come up here for the mic for a second, can you get up here? He jingles when he goes because he's got bells on his legs. How long have you been playing with these two?
Well, Nigel just recently moved to the area from Kentucky. I actually both met them at first in Kentucky.
Where in Kentucky?
In Lexington. Of course, where all the horses are.
Well, but also where my oldest friend in the world is a professor of music at the University of Kentucky.
Yes, that's where they went, University of Kentucky. So I met them both there near the university, and we did some shows there. And then where I went to school, NIU, is where eventually Tamir went to school. And then Nigel is now a student currently at NIU. And so I've been working with Tamir for a few years, and Nigel more recently.
Wow, it's hypnotic. Or captivating is a better word. It's not hypnotic, it's captivating. How long have you been an honorary Chinese/Mongolian?
I went to school at Northern Illinois University, and that's when I first got into specifically Chinese music, but I was into world music before that.
What drew you to I love the way, and Julie and I have talked about this, that the world is wonderfully shrinking and that there are not these barriers, because you can, the internet, if it's done any good thing, it's opened up avenues to every kind of music available. What is it about Chinese music that appealed to you?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, the more, at first on the surface, I was just appealed to the music because I'm a musician.
Yeah,
and
right.
I was actually kind of tricked into becoming a part of the Chinese orchestra because I was going down the hallway one time and I saw.
And Julie grabbed you and threw you.
Well, yeah, the professor at the university. I peeked in the door and saw a hammer dulcimer and said, "Oh, is that a hammer dulcimer?" And he said, "Yeah, that's a Chinese yangqin. It's a Chinese hammer dulcimer." I said, "Oh, they're beautiful. I love the sound of them. I'm a percussionist. I've always wanted to play it." He scratched a little piece of paper, handed it to me. He says, "Go to the office and hand them the piece of paper." Okay, I don't know you, but sure, fine. I did it, and then the registrar said, "Okay, you're registered for Chinese ensemble." Wow. And so I was tricked into becoming a part of it, and then just learned Chinese music in university, eventually went over to China to study there, and then eventually started going around the world to study.
You too, as a musician, were beyond, you were professionally and aesthetically captivated, were you not?
Oh, totally, 100%. And then the more I've learned about it, the more I've delved deeper into it, and really studied the history about it. And,
You're also a member of Mukapaza, which is one of the great bands of all time in this town.
A little bit different than Chinese music, but
yes, it's slightly different. But it's all, that's one of the great things about music and the whole notion of world music is that those cultural barriers, Julie, you think are breaking down some in your tenure as president of the Fine Arts Society?
I think so. I feel that it is a really good way, especially with all that's going on in the news these days. It's still wonderful how when you come to these cultural exchanges, it just breaks everything down. There's this great appreciation of different types of art. You know, our heritage is a 5,000-year-old heritage,
Exactly.
and there are so many influences that cross borders, and there's something recognizable in so much of Chinese culture.
Yeah, and I mean now, currently in the news, it's every shot of China is people wearing masks because of the coronavirus, which is a serious sin, much more serious in China than it is here now. But this kind of pandemic, a potential pandemic, is a horrible thing, but it should not distract people from the Chinese New Year. What is the Year of the Rat? What does this mean?
So every year,
right.
It's a 12-year cycle. The rat is actually the beginning of the cycle. So every year there's there's an animal, and this year is the rat. So as the story goes, way back when the world was being created and the Jade Emperor wanted to have this zodiac, he had this race across a river to have 12 strong animals get across the river, and that was going to determine the order of the zodiac. So the rat was very clever, and he climbed onto the back of the ox, and so the ox got across first, but the rat jumped off his shoulder and he landed first. And the Jade Emperor was so impressed by that he made him the first animal in the 12-year cycle of animals. And so people that are born in the year of the rat are known for being very clever, very quick-witted, and
clever and
flexible and not devious,
okay.
In a good way. And so that's kind of the characteristic of people that are born in the year of the rat.
Wow. And the celebration, as you've described it, it's a wonderful thing that you clean up your house and you try to clean up your life.
Yes.
Before entering the new year. I love that.
So Chinese New Year is the biggest celebration of the year for the Chinese people worldwide, and Chinese people are traditionally quite superstitious, and it's all about, as you said, it's all about luck, and you want to set yourself up for the best luck possible. And so what you do is, in preparation for Chinese New Year, you clean your house, you sweep out all the dust in all the corners, you cut your hair, you buy new clothes, you do all of these things to try and get rid of any bad luck that might be lurking around you, and then set up yourself for a good year. You pay your debts, you also collect on debts, so you try and do everything to get this clean slate. And then on the first day of the Chinese New Year celebration, you make a huge noise. So you'll hear a lot of drums, you'll have lion dances, and you'll do all kinds of things to, again, scare off any luck, any bad luck that is still lurking around. And then for the next 2 weeks, there are things that you're supposed to do every day. So one day you visit your ancestral graves, one day you bring your whole family together, and this goes on for basically 2 weeks. And then on the very last day of Chinese New Year, you hang red lanterns everywhere to, again, ward off any bad luck that might be coming back at you. And so for us, we've been doing this for now. This is our third year.
Third.
We have a lantern festival, and we've been doing this with the Art Institute in Maggie Daly Park for
that takes place on Saturday, February 8th.
Saturday, February 8th, and it starts actually. The Art Institute has a whole day of programming of Lunar New Year celebrations, celebrating all of the Asian cultures that celebrate Lunar New Year. And then when the Art Institute closes, they direct everybody out the modern wing exit, and we line up. And we have lanterns for people to borrow, and then you can also bring your own. And we do this beautiful lantern procession all the way through Millennium Park and over to Maggie Daly Park. And then the Maggie Daly Park has given us the skating ribbon, and we have skaters skate around in Chinese costumes with ribbons and fans, and it's just a beautiful celebration. And then we have food and arts and crafts and
music.
We might have some music. We actually haven't had music there before, not live music there before in the field house. And it's a really wonderful celebration, and it's a really great way to end Chinese New Year. So we're really excited. Last year we probably had about 2,500 people there, and it lit up just the bridge across from Millennium Park into Maggie Daly Park. It was just so beautiful with the backdrop of the city, the
And there's,
skyline.
you know, and the other thing, there's no reason for people to be in panic mode because of this thing happening in China. I know that, you know, 2 people here. This kind of thing can be dangerous, but I think we're in the kind of era and age where it can be closed off pretty quickly. I mean, you've got 50 million Chinese being sort of quarantined now.
We certainly hope so. I think people are being cautious. People are wearing face masks and using a lot of hand sanitizer, which, you know, we recommend that people do that anyway during flu season.
Sure.
And I think I'm hoping that it will not cause, it will not grow.
Me too,
And so
because
far
it has that feeling of a kind of, you know, news foster in the same way that, hey, Blizzard Watch 2020, and nothing happens. It's that kind of a thing to me. We are going to hear, because you're staying on for another 15 minutes, if that's okay, some more from this unbelievable band. Can I call you guys a band? Yeah.
Tuvergen, the
Okay,
galloping
the honorary,
band.
the one honorary Mongolian trio is what I'm going to call it. We got to take a short little break and we'll be back.
Foremost futurist in America predicts what will happen later this year in politics, technology, and the financial markets.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I think if you go to ChineseFineArts.org, you will not see pictures of my new 3 friends, but you will get a sense of the ongoing celebration, the Apple Store on Saturday, February 1st, but also the Lunar New Year celebration and lantern procession at the Art Institute and into Maggie Daley Park. That's on Saturday, February 8th. And you'll also get an introduction to the Chinese Fine Art Society, which I think is one of the most active and important artistic organizations in this town. It's run by Julie Ma, who is my guest, and she's introduced me to these fantastic musicians, Tamara and Nazel Hargana, who are not related, right?
Right.
They have the same last name.
They're from the same small village in Mongolia, but they are not related. And they also told me there are only 5,000 people in the world that have the last name Shagana.
That's pretty astonishing. They wind up first in Kentucky and then here.
Yeah.
And it was in Kentucky that they fell under the influence of Brett Roman, who has fallen seriously under the influence of Chinese percussion, haven't you?
Well, I did want to point out the connection that Brent made, that they were in Kentucky where all the horses are, because, you know, Mongolia is where all the horses are in China, and Mongolians are known for being
the greatest horsemen on the planet.
Greatest horsemen, and so it makes sense that that's where they would end up, kind of.
Makes sense that Ron Penn, who sends us this Christmas album, was a professor of music at the University of Kentucky. He may know you guys, and that would be the ultimate small world. I promised you, and Julie has acceded to that promise, that you would play another song for us. What does Julie know what it is, or you want to?
I'm going to let you guys say it again just to make sure it's said correctly.
Aspergana?
Aspergana. Targana.
Yes, it's the number one. It's been on the number one on the Mongolian charts for 55 years. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's fascinating to watch, too. this radio station plays very little music, but that's the kind of music you will hear on very few radio stations, and it's certainly worth hearing. When they perform a concert, Julie Ma, is it a concert of some length?
So we have had them perform in many of our events where it's a showcase of different types of artists, and so we'll have them, for example, at Navy Pier, they perform 4 times, and in the course of the afternoon, 5 pieces about this length, usually 2 of them at a time for each little showcase that we did with them. And then we've also tried to find other opportunities to
For a full concert.
Yeah. We really would like to do that, and also Brent leads this incredible drum team. It's all these big Chinese drums, and we try to feature them as well.
How many people in that?
How many total? 8?
8?
There's 8.
Wow.
And they're really incredible, and so they are some of the staples of Chinese New Year programming for the Chinese Fine Arts Society, and we feel so lucky to have such wonderful musicians.
Well, it's really an honor to hear you guys, because it's just, this is world music, man. This is what the world is about, is hearing.
And I wanted to just introduce the instruments that they were playing, so that
Sure.
So there was the horsehead fiddle, which Nigel was playing. Do you want to just play a little bit yourself?
I'm assuming you made that. Am I correct? You can't buy it like at the Apple Store or Walgreens or something. You make these instruments. That's what makes them even more intriguing.
Yeah, and if you'll be able to see it if you go to the Apple Store. But the horsehead fiddle, literally the top of the fiddle is shaped like a horse
Yeah,
head.
it's beautiful. It's a really beautiful instrument. What
And Tamira is playing it's a lute, and it's called an ashur.
Dashboard?
Dashfleur.
It looks kind of like a guitar or a banjo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like a
lute,
banjo.
and then they're all in the same family. Do you want to play a little bit yourself?
Yeah, sure.
And then the really interesting thing that Tamir was doing that people couldn't see is all of that singing is just with his throat.
I know, it's
And,
astonishing.
and-
But he said, well, big deal, you can learn in 2 weeks, right? That's what you say? Okay, I'm gonna start.
You can learn how to move the
Yeah, I'm
air
gonna
in
start
2 weeks,
one
and
day.
then
I'm
you
gonna
can for
start
the next
learning.
20
No,
years
it's
try and
so
sound like
beautiful.
Tamir.
God,
Yes.
so beautiful. And Brent, your drum setup is a variety. You have bells on your boots, a leather drum, cymbals, and all sorts of things of your creation, right?
Putting it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't invent any of the drums.
You didn't
but
invent
they're-
any of the
I
drums, but
I
he's-
invented the concept.
He
yeah.
invented the concept. Julie, it is a rare thing. You get to work with so many nice, you have never brought into this studio. Years ago, you brought in little girls who are probably now doctors somewhere.
Yeah, actually one of them
Or
is.
professional musicians somewhere. And just, you have introduced me to so much astonishing music.
Well, and I think it's really, it's one of the great things about Chicago that there are so many artists here that are preserving these traditional
Yeah.
art forms and even taking them to a new level. And we have found Chinese hip hop dancers that are taking Chinese dance moves but like messing them up a little bit. And so it's really fun to see how people are being creative and still producing or preserving those traditional Chinese art forms.
Well, and I think, what you've done with, your mother founded the Chinese Fine Arts Society
35 years ago.
35 years ago, and you have carried on that baton, and it is a wonderful, instead of thinking that your entry point to Chinese culture is an egg roll at some Chinese restaurant on Western Avenue, or going to China. There's nothing wrong with going to Chinese restaurants, but your entry point to Chinese culture really should be the Chinese Fine Arts society, and ChineseFineArts.org is the way to do that. You can do it personally next Saturday or February 8th, but also the website itself will introduce you to a number of great things. Julie, thank you. Brent, you're my new favorite honorary Mongolian. Timir Nazal Argana, it is a pleasure and honor to have heard you.
Thank you so much for having us today.
You're always welcome. If you keep bringing this, you guys are not my favorite band. I know it's the night of the Grammys. I hope one year to see the three of you on stage at the Grammys getting some kind of award.
That would be great.
We got to take a little break now, and then we'll talk to Phil Donlin about his new movie.
Thank
Julie,
you.
thank you. It's always a real treat to see you, and thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marijuana, CBD,
Good.
THC,
Yeah, thanks.
hemp,
Yeah,
cannabis,
good.
what are they?
Party
What's
level.
underneath?
Great job, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much.